U.S. given okay to enforce maritime law around Palau. India lodges strong protest with China over map claiming India's territory. Earthquake of magnitude 7.0 strikes Bali Sea. U.S. and China agree to discuss export controls. Saudi Arabia's $7,000 per person fuel subsidies are the highest in G20. UK airport service remains significantly disrupted. Denmark bans burning the Koran. Canada says caping foreign students' number is not the only solution.
Hello, I'm Wade Lee. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It is Wednesday, August 30th, and here are your top stories. The U.S. has signed a new agreement with Palau, which gives American ships the authorization to unilaterally enforce maritime regulations in the nation's exclusive economic zone. The U.S. Coast Guard said on Tuesday that the agreement comes following pleas from Palau's president for Washington's help to deter Beijing's unwanted activities in its coastal waters. The agreement is similar to one concluded with the federal state of Micronesia, following which the U.S. Coast Guard has conducted boardings for the Pacific nation.
Achieving a safe, just, and secure ocean protects the well-being of all people, communities, and economies.
The U.S. also signed a bilateral defense agreement in May with Papua New Guinea, which will allow the U.S. Coast Guard to conduct boardings alongside its local counterparts in Papua New Guinea's exclusive economic zone for the first time later this year. The U.S. Coast Guard said the agreements show the United States' ongoing investment in protecting shared resources and an interest in maritime safety and security. Palau is one of the only countries that recognizes Taiwan and maintains diplomatic relations with the nation.
India said on Tuesday that it had lodged a strong protest with China over a new map that lays claim to India's territory. The protest by New Delhi followed reports in the Indian media that Beijing had released an official standard map showing the Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh and the Aksai Chin Plateau as its official territory. China claimed Arunachal Pradesh in the eastern Himalayas to be part of southern Tibet and had in April released a map renaming 11 places in the state as being within Zangnan, or southern Tibet in Chinese.
Aksai Chin is a disputed plateau in the western Himalayas claimed by India but controlled by China. Earlier on Tuesday, India's Foreign Minister Subramanyam Jaishankar told news channel NDTV, making absurd claims on India's territory does not make it China's territory. New Delhi's protest comes days after Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to China's President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Johannesburg last week and highlighted concerns about the standoff on their disputed Himalayan frontier.
The European Mediterranean Seismological Center said a strong earthquake of 7.0 magnitude struck deep in the sea north of Bali and Lombok Island in Indonesia early on Tuesday, sending residents running out of buildings. EMSC said the quake's epicenter was 203 kilometers north of Mataram, Indonesia, and very deep at 516 kilometers below the Earth's surface. Indonesian and U.S. Geological Agency pegged the magnitude at 7.1, with no threats of a tsunami.
According to the Indonesian Geological Agency, the quake was felt just before 4 a.m. local time across coastal areas in Bali and Lombok and was followed by two quakes of magnitude 6.1 and 6.5. Indonesian Disaster Agency BNPB said there were no immediate reports of damage. BNPB spokesperson Abdul Muhari said, "The quake is deep so it should not be destructive." Guests at Bali's Mercure Kuta Bali ran out of their rooms after feeling the tremor for a few seconds.
U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo said she and her Chinese counterparts agreed Monday to exchange information on U.S. export controllers and set up a group to discuss other commercial issues, but neither side appeared ready to make concessions on disputes that have plunged the relationship to their lowest levels in decades. Raimondo said the information exchange will hold its first meeting on Tuesday. She added, "The United States is committed to being transparent about our export control enforcement strategy."
U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo and her Chinese counterpart Wang Wentao agreed to form a working group to solve trade and investment issues as well as advance U.S. commercial interests in China.
Raimondo told reporters at Ambassador Nicholas Burns's official residence, "We are not compromising or negotiating in matters of national security, but this is meant to be a dialogue where we increase transparency." Earlier, Wang Wentao told Raimondo that Beijing is ready to work together to foster a more favorable policy environment for stronger cooperation and bolster bilateral trade and investment. However, the Associated Press noted Wang gave no details of possible initiatives.
According to a paper published by the International Monetary Fund, Saudi Arabia's total spending on fuel subsidies soared over the past 2 years, hitting the highest amount the group of 20 economies on a per capita basis. The paper revealed the country spent almost $7,000 per person, equivalent to about 27% of economic output, across both explicit and implicit energy subsidies. The spending has made Saudi gasoline one of the cheapest in the world.
Saudi Arabia spent the most on fuel subsidies per capita in the group of 20
Implicit subsidies, which the IMF defined as undercharging for the environmental cost of fossil fuel burning and lost tax revenue, made up the bulk of the global total. Explicit subsidies, or selling fuels as below supply costs, had a share of just 18%. In 2021, the government set a cap for the domestic cost of gasoline to soften the impact of higher living costs on citizens. Saudi Arabia spent a total of $253 billion on subsidies last year. China was the biggest provider of subsidies in absolute terms.
Heathrow Airport has said its services remained significantly disrupted on Tuesday after air traffic controllers across the UK experienced a technical fault. In a statement about the technical issues that affected the nation's air traffic services, Britain's busiest airport urged passengers to contact their airline before traveling to the airport. It said, "If you are traveling on 29th August, please ensure you contact your airline before traveling to the airport."
When the skies are this busy, the last thing anyone needs is a technical glitch.
NATS said, "The issue has been resolved, however schedules remain significantly disrupted." The technical fault meant flight plans had to be input manually by controllers. According to aviation analytics firm Cirium, by Monday afternoon, 232 flights departing UK airports had been cancelled along with 271 arriving flights. Cirium added it equates to about 8% of all expected departures and 9% of expected arrivals. While NATS has confirmed it has fixed the technical issue with the UK's air traffic control system, airports have warned the disruption it has caused will continue.
An official said last Saturday that Denmark's government will ban Koran burning following desecration in recent months that have provoked outrage across the Muslim world. Denmark's Justice Minister Peter Hummelgaard told reporters that the government will present a bill that will prohibit the inappropriate treatment of objects of significant religious importance to a religious community. He said that the legislation was specifically aimed at burning and desecrations in public places.
The burnings are deeply offensive and reckless acts committed by few individuals.
The move is reflecting incidents across Denmark and Sweden that have harmed diplomatic relations with Muslim countries and inspired fervent protests. Denmark's government said in July it would seek a legal tool to outlaw Koran burnings, citing security concerns. However, the proposed law has invited criticism from right-wing groups, who have denounced the initiative as an attack on freedom of speech. Earlier this month, Sweden's security service judged such protests had put the country at a heightened terror threat.
In an interview with the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, Canada's Immigration Minister Mark Miller said that capping the number of students allowed in each year as a way of easing the housing crunch is not the only reason. He said that Canada is also concerned about two other issues. First, the overall integrity of the system that educates hundreds of thousands of international students. And second, closing loopholes that some international students take advantage of to gain entry to Canada.
To the idea that the federal government may put a cap on the number of international students allowed to study in Canada.
In the interview that aired late last Saturday, Miller said Canada is on track to bring in 900,000 international students this year, which was more than at any point in history and roughly triple the number who entered the country a decade ago. Canada is a popular destination for international students since it is relatively easy to obtain a work permit. Miller said his concern was not the public universities, but principally the private colleges that have just ballooned in different parts of Canada.
Now let's delve into the news of Denmark banning burning Korans. Number 1, desecrate, 亵渎. The enemy desecrated the church by using it as a stable. Number 2, fervent, 热情的,热忱的,热烈的. His fervent wish is that he could make the world hear our music. Number 3, initiative, 倡议,新方案. Government initiatives to help young people have been inadequate. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune into Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below now to join Funday for free. I'm Wei Li, your host. I'll see you next time.